Hello, I'm Renee Vandervloot, and I would like to use this year's Mental Health Awareness Day as an opportunity to talk to you about the link between self-compassion and mental health. We owe a very great deal to the research of Kristin Neff. She's a professor at the University of Austin, Texas, and there have now been about 1,800 or so research papers into the effects of self-compassion when practiced over a period of time, and the findings are pretty unanimous. Positive states are increased and negative states decreased. So people tend to report back feeling happier, more optimistic, more self-confident. They have an increased life satisfaction, and even physical health is positively influenced. And at the same time, negative states like depression, stress, anxiety tend to decrease. Now, it's also worth remembering, of course, that when positive states are increased over a period of time, we become more resilient. So we therefore also recover more quickly from a knock, and this keeps us feeling good, of course. Now, the next question is, well, what is self-compassion? It involves treating yourself with the same kindness that you would a friend when having a hard time. So I'm talking here about a practice. It's not just a skill, but it's something that we can learn over a period of time to get better at. We can learn to become a better friend to ourselves, less self-critical, just generally kinder and more forgiving. So I can also say then that it's about the quality, it's about improving the quality of the attention that we give to ourselves, and particularly when we are suffering or are having a hard time. Now let's look for a moment at how it works. Remember that long-term stress is very bad for your health. And why is that? Because if the ancient survival brain is on alert without any break, it's pumping adrenaline and cortisol into the system all the time. And that's just not good. Now, obviously, stress can be caused by external factors, but what we sometimes need to be reminded of is that our internal voice is also a huge component of stress. You know, so many of us are self-critical, and if we do this all the time, sometimes we don't even know that we're doing it. We are not only attacking ourselves, so being attacked, but we're also at the same time the attacker. So not good news. Now, let's look at compassion then. And what does that do? Well, compassion is very closely linked to the mammalian caregiving system of the body. And when that is active, we feel safe, we feel cared for, and of course the effect of that is that we calm down and we feel more connected with ourselves, with other people, with the environment. So if we can sustain that, we generally feel more expansive, we feel better. I'd like to finish with just highlighting the three components that are very much part of self-compassion. Now, there are infinite ways in which you can practice this. There are excellent courses about, but just to break it down, there are three parts. Firstly, there is the component of just being aware, being mindful, and that consists of learning to really acknowledge, to really feel physically in an embodied way when we are hurt in any way. So, whether that is when we're angry, we can acknowledge that we're angry and hurt, because underneath anger is nearly always hurt. We can acknowledge that we're feeling vulnerable, that we're feeling stressed. Just that very simple personal acknowledgement is step number one. Another component is what's called the action component, and that is what I've already mentioned, is the bringing of kindness to ourselves. So perhaps asking yourself, well, what can I say or do that would bring comfort? So that has very often got a verbal component. So just saying something like, yeah, of course this hurts, or it's okay to feel like this. And then thirdly, very interesting and other beautiful component is what is referred to as common humanity. Now, this, if you think about it for a moment, whenever we feel hurt or upset, we automatically feel isolated. And this component brings us actually closer to other people, because it's an acknowledgement that we're not alone in suffering. It's very much part of the human condition. And the whole realization that we are imperfect, that we are flawed in some way, and that is what makes us part of the human family, can be enormously reassuring to people. So to finish off, I think it's important to realise that there's lots to learn about self-compassion. It's not a quick fix, but I would highly encourage you to look at the work of Kristin Neff, Chris Germer, and for anybody who's in London, on the 20th of October, I'm giving a one-day workshop around this topic. So wishing you all well, and a lot of self-kindness. Bye-bye.